my great friend, and the future Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Maxime.
Today, that was a huge day for us because, you know, a lot of people told us that we won't be able to build a party before the next election. But, you know, you are here and we just received the official registration by Election Canada. Today, after 4 months, we are a real political party, a real force in Canada. So now, we have a real political party. So that means that I'm a real leader of a political party. Always real. And I feel very good. And, you know, when we started that 4 months ago, you know, I said we have a strong platform, great ideas, based on what we believe, individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And I said, I'm sure that we will be successful all across the country. But I did an interview today here in Halifax, and the journalist asked me a very good question. She said, Mr. Bernier, I want your comments on that. Peter McKay, your friend Peter McKay, I said, yeah, Peter is a good guy, and I was with him actually, yes, as a conservative. But Peter said, when you started your party, that you won't be able to succeed, and you know, you won't be able to build a party, and people must vote for the conservative if they want to vote, if they want to have real conservative reform. So now we are proving them that they're wrong. We have a platform, we have ideas, we have a party, we have a membership, and I want to thank you because up to now we have 34,000 members. That's great because, you know, I like Elizabeth May. She's great. She's my seatmate in Parliament. So I must have a good relation with her. And I said to her at the beginning when I had that seat, hello Elizabeth, how are you? Great. I don't want to fight with you. So let's have an agreement. Let's have a deal. We won't speak politics, and like that, everything will be all right. And she said, okay, Maxime. So she's a great lady, and she was a little bit curious, because when we started the party, she was asking me, how many members every day? How many members do you have? Oh, I'm at 10,000. How many members today? 15,000. And I asked her, how many members do you have in the Green Party? Because I know the Green Party exists for 35 years, so you must have a lot of members. She said, Maxime, 19,000 members. So what we did in 4 months, 34,000 members, and that's why we were able to build a riding association all across the country. 338 organizations in every riding, and I want to thank you for that. And our next goal will be to have great candidates in every riding, and our goal is to have our candidate before the end of May. So what I'm asking you, in your communities, in your riding, in your regions, find the great people, the good people that want to represent the People's Party of Canada and fight for what we believe. So we'll be able, if we have candidates in every riding, and that's very important for us because that's a very important condition. One important condition for being at the debate during the national campaign. And I can assure you that we'll achieve that goal. We'll have candidates in every riding that will fight for our values, and will be there, and I will be there to ask the right question to Justin Trudeau and Andrew Scheer and the other leaders. That will be fun. Actually, I must admit that it is my best time in politics. And a lot of people were asking me in the beginning, and they still ask me that question, why so many people are supporting your party? What's happening, Maxime? And the answer for me is very simple. We are doing politics differently. There's no subject that we won't discuss. When there's something very important for the future of our country, like speaking about immigration, speaking about identity politics, speaking about, the subject that are important, pipelines, speaking about equalization, and I will speak a little bit more about these subjects. But we want to have a discussion with Canadians on important issues for the future of our country. And I think people understand that we have a coherent platform based on our four principles: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. And we won't do any compromise with our ideas. And I really like Margaret Thatcher as a leader because she was tough, she was a real free market politician lady, and she said in an interview that she didn't like the word consensus. When you're doing consensus with other political parties, at the end it's never the right policy that it's approved by the parliament. And she said we must do politics by conviction, and speaking about what we believe with passion and conviction before an election, during an election, and after an election, and that is what we are doing right now. And maybe you'll be tired of that, but I want to speak about the cartel of supply management. Say, Maxime, you're always speaking about that. We know it's a huge cartel and we are paying twice the price for milk, poultry, and eggs. But I want to speak about that because it is a great example of what the Liberals, the NDP, Andrew Scheer, the Conservatives are doing. They try to please a special interest group of the 19,000 producers under supply management. They want them to keep their privilege to charge twice the price for these products to Canadian consumers. And what I want to tell you, if they cannot resist the pressure coming from these special interest groups, and knowing that the best policies is to abolish that system for Canadian consumers, but also for the dairy, poultry, and milk producers, because we want them to be able to export their good products outside Canada. And they cannot do that right now in that socialist system. And we will do that on a transition period between 4 to 6 years. We'll have to buy back their quota, and they would be able to use that money to be more productive and to export their products. But we know that's the best policy for our country. And we are the only country in the world who's having a system like that. And you know who started that system? 40 years ago, something like that? Pierre Trudeau. So can you believe Andrew Scheer, a conservative, and all their team, they want to protect a socialist system that Pierre Trudeau put forward 45 years ago. And they have the audacity to say that they're real conservative and they believe in free markets. So, but for me, the example, if they cannot resist the pressure coming from that little interest group, how will they be able to resist pressure coming from other interest groups? People who want a privilege from the legislation, people who want less competition because they're not able to compete, corporations that will ask for big privilege, they won't be able to resist pressures from other interest groups. So that's why we are doing politics differently. On that file, but also on other subjects, we're very different than the liberal and the conservative. And for me, if you want to do politics based on your conviction, you have to speak about that. And you have to explain that. And that's what I'm doing, and I will do. I will speak on a lot of subjects, and subjects that are important for the future of our country. And I just want to let you know I was in Regina at the beginning of the week, and after that in Saskatoon, and I was in St. John yesterday, and I had a good discussion with people over there about pipelines. And it's very important for Western Canadians, but also for you here in Halifax, to be sure that we are able to build pipelines in this country. And we have the solution for that. What we need in Canada to be able to have pipelines, and I hope that the private sector will put on the table again the pipeline is what's the name? Energy East, thank you. The Energy East pipeline back on the table, because we need that pipeline and we need more pipelines in Canada. But what we need the most is leadership in Ottawa. So we don't have that leadership. I understand that we must do some consultation. That's okay. I understand that we will try to accommodate, people who want some changes in some of these projects. Okay, we can accommodate them. But it's only the federal government who can decide if we have a pipeline or not. It is not the mayor of Montreal. It is not the premier of Quebec. It is not the premier of New BC. It's a federal decision. And after all these consultations, if we need to use our Constitution. And the Constitution was very well written by our fathers in 1867. There's a clause there, a section 9210, and we can invoke that section. And that section is telling, it's written black on white, white on black, or blue on white. It's written very clear that you can declare a construction of a pipeline for our national interest. And when you do that, it's the decision of the federal government, and you have the legitimacy and the responsibility and the power to impose a pipeline after consultation. And that's our position. That's our position. Being elected, we'll try to do some consultation and we'll do it, but we'll have to impose it. If the Premier of Quebec is against Energy East, then he does not represent the Quebec population. And speaking about that, as you know, I'm coming from Quebec. And Quebecers, they know that it's safer to transport oil and gas by pipelines than by train, because they had, as you know, the big tragedy in Lac-Mégantic 5 years ago. It's safer for the population, it's safer for the environment, and Canadians and Quebecers want to buy their oil and gas from Canada. Yeah. So, right now, I said that in Western Canada, in Regina, I said that in French, in Quebec. I did an interview on the French TV over there, and they asked me that question, Mr. Bernie, if the Quebec government is against a national pipeline in Quebec, do you think that you'll impose that on Quebec? And I said, yes, I will impose it on Quebec and use the Constitution. Oh my God. The journalists look at me, I don't know what Bernie is saying. He won't have any vote in Quebec. But they understand that, the Quebecers. They understand that we're in 2019 and we can build a secure pipeline in 2019. And we'll do it for sure. Good. That will create jobs here in Halifax, in Montreal, and that will help everybody. And that's the policy that will unite us in Canada. And what I said in Regina and in Saint John this week, I said we need the right economic policies for the unity of our country. And that one about pipeline, it's an important one. And the other one, it's about equalization. People in Western Canada, they are fed up to give money to Quebec, my own province. They're sending money for the equalization formula because, as you know, Quebec is a poor province. And I said 5 years ago that I'm not proud to be a Quebecer when Quebec received equalization money. The goal must be for Quebec to receive zero money from the equalization formula because Quebec would be a rich province. And that formula, it is unfair and inefficient because my own province in Quebec received equalization money for the last 50 years. So it's a kind of a poverty trap. There's no incentive for Quebec or other provinces like Nova Scotia, like New Brunswick, to develop their own natural resources because if they have a strong private sector, they will receive less money from the equalization formula. So we need to change that, and we need to have a debate. And I want Quebec to be a rich province. I want Nova Scotia to be a rich province. I want New Brunswick to be a rich province. And I was very, very pleased and very proud to hear the Premier of New Brunswick when he said the federal government must give less money from the equalization to my province because that will give an incentive to us to develop our private sector and having more free market policies at the provincial level. It's very it is very courageous for me. And I did an interview this morning with a radio show, and they asked Maxime, you're going to come to Nova Scotia, and you're going to tell them that you'll cut a little bit the money from the equalization formula, and you think that you want to have some votes in Nova Scotia? Are you a little bit, I said no. we'll do that on a transition period. We'll have a discussion with everybody, and we'll give them the right incentive to develop their natural resources and the private sector in their province. So I think we can have that conversation. And I'm having that conversation, and it's time to act. But we won't cut the transfer from, 100% to 0%. We will do that after discussion with them and tell them, you need to develop your own private sector and having the right policies at the provincial level. But also, what I will do to help Nova Scotian and to help your province, we need to have a real economic union in this country. And it is a shame that after 152 years, we don't have an economic union in Canada. That was the goal of the fathers of our Constitution, to create an economic union in this country. That was their goal in 1867. And so we don't have that. We don't have that because we have a weak government in Ottawa that doesn't want to use the constitutional power to be sure that we have a free trade in Canada. And that will help you here in Halifax because you have a small market. You have a very small market. And I want you to have some economy of scale and being able to send your goods and your products outside Atlantic Canada, in Canada, without any tariff, without any quota. That will help you more than anything, more freedom of choice. And I want you also, if you want to buy a beer in New Brunswick and bring that here. And that's a real cost for your economy. I've read a study, and they were saying that it's a loss of 7.6% of GDP every year because we don't have a real free trade in Canada. That's hurting you right now here. So what we will do, we will use the Constitution. The Constitution is really well done, well written. We'll use the Constitution, and there's a section there, Section 91.2, Trade and Commerce. Trade and commerce, it is the responsibility of the federal government. So yes, we can use the Constitution and bring into court provinces that don't respect the Constitution for being sure that we have a real free trade in Canada, because we cannot count on provinces to do that. We try, and they try to negotiate, and I must admit that the worst one, the province who put the more barriers, that's my own province in Quebec. So, but they have a new government there, and I hope that the new government will do something. But if not, it's too important. A real free trade in Canada that will help Atlantic Canada the most. Pipelines in Canada, that's important. A review of the equalization formula, that's important. And like that, we'll build a freer and a more prosperous country. And I want to speak a little bit, and if you don't want me to speak about that, just let me know. But I want to speak about immigration. I don't know why. I'm the only leader in Ottawa who has maybe the courage to speak about it. Andrew Scheer, all the other ones, they want always more and more and more immigrants. Our party, and everybody understands that, we're not for mass immigration. But also, we're not anti-immigration. What we want is fewer immigrants, going back to the average that we had under Stephen Harper, the government, 250,000 a year. And what the Trudeau government did, they increased that by 40%, and next year it would be 350,000 a year. So we just want to make a pause and being sure that, it is a privilege to be Canadian, and this country has been built by immigrants and people who came here to share our Canadian values and come here for the freedom and I want our country to be like that in 20 years, in 50 years. Right. That's why we need to have a question and a debate about that right now in Canada. And that's why I want to be at the national debate in a couple of months from now to ask questions to the other leaders about it. It's too important for the future of our country. But I know that in Atlantic Canada, you need workers that will help you to build your society, to build your industry. When a business or an entrepreneur is not able to find a person here in Nova Scotia for a job, they must have the right to go up there and to find an economic immigrant, somebody that will come here because they have a job. And when a person has a job, it's always easier to integrate our society. It is better for that person, better for us. But before doing that, the business must prove that they're not able to find that person in Canada. So we have a system that is working, but now with Justin Trudeau, they changed all that, and now we have a lot of refugees that are crossing the border in my own province in Quebec. This year it would be 40,000 of them. It is unfair. It is unfair for the real refugees that are waiting in a refugees camp in another country. They are jumping the queue. And also, the Department of Immigration, it's not a politician, it's the Department of Immigration in Ottawa, said that 40% of them will have to be deported in 3 years from now because they're not real refugees. So it's a big cost for our society. And imagine in 3 years from now trying to deport these people. Maybe they will have kids, they will go at school. So we must fix that. But the Trudeau government doesn't want to fix that. And it's a question of the sustainability of our immigration system. So we will fix it. We will have a discussion with President Trump and we'll fix the third safe country agreement. Because when you're coming from the state of New York, your life is not in danger. And we will do that. It's so important for the future of our country. So that's why we want to speak about immigration. And I'm doing that each time I have a rally or discussion with journalists, And sometimes some journalists try to say, Bernie, oh, you're radical, you want to have fewer immigrants. And my answer is, I'm not radical. 49% of Canadians want fewer immigrants. Only 6% of them want more immigrants. So who is the radical? Maxime Bernier or Justin Trudeau?
Right.
And I think you like our platform because we want to give you more of your own money in your pockets. But contrary to the other politicians, like Andrew Scheer, who said, I will lower your taxes. They said, we'll lower your taxes and you'll pay less taxes. But we don't know how they will do that. If they will do that, then that will increase the deficit. And Andrew Scheer said, no, I want to balance the budget. I want to increase the deficit, but I will lower your taxes. Okay, so what cut you're going to do in the budget? It's a huge budget in federal. So if you don't want to increase the deficit and you want to lower taxes, you'll need to cut something.
Try CBC.
happened to enrichers? You don't have that answer. You have a politician answer. Oh yeah, we'll do that without telling us how. But I'm telling you how. Yes, we're gonna cut CBC. But enrichir, Justin Trudeau won't do that. They're too afraid of a bad press. You know? We're not afraid of that. Because I like competitions. And there's a lot of competition with the traditional media and the social media. So we know that, we can have good coverage a day, bad coverage another day, but the most important is to say the same thing every day. And I think that's the most important. So yes, we're gonna cut the CBC. We need to save more money. Where?
Go to the post office.
Post office. Yes, we're gonna privatize Canada Post. We have emails, and Canada, we're the only country who have Canada Post. At Canada Post, they have a monopoly on letters. So yes, if you want to send a colleague or a big package, you can do that. You can call UPS, Canada Post. There's some competition there. But for a letter, you don't have any competition. Canada Post has the monopoly on that. But all the other countries in Europe, they privatized a long time ago their postal services. So yes, we must do the same thing for giving you better choices and freedom to choose if you want to use Canada Post or use another private sector postal services. That would be your choice. So yes, we want to do that reform, and we can save money there. But we have another big reform where we will save a lot of money. Foreign aid. I'm sure that you know that the Trudeau government will send this year and next year $2.3 billion to African countries to do what? To fight climate change. Do you believe that the dictatorship in an African country will really use the money to fight climate change? So I want to use the money to help Canadians first. That's why we are